Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. Is Trump winning or is Trump stalemated, losing? We're going to talk about some of that. Leo Zagami was on yesterday, and we talked about that in detail. I share a little bit more insights on what he shared. So there's definitely going to be some problems going forward. We, the people, will probably have to get involved. There's just too much, infiltration by the deep state. They control too much. We'll see going forward, but it's not looking very good. All right. So other things we're going to talk about are the flooding New York City, flooding in China is ongoing and on a catastrophic level. Are they being targeted? Russia, the recent earthquake, was it an 8.8 or something less? And regardless, the spread of new earthquake activity along that fault line seems to be increasing, and there is a chance that, according to USGS, that we will get another fairly big or larger earthquake, right? As I've been predicting. So we'll see how that works out. I think that was a pre-quake, and we're going to see something larger, and then it's going to transfer over to California, right? Tsunamis and everything. So earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic activity, all going to increase. Probably super volcano going off in Italy. So we're going to see some earth changes in the future. Other things we're looking at is the market. Looks like it's ready to go down again. And crypto is going down. Crypto, I think, is unfortunately is going to come out to be a fool's game, right? So we'll talk about that. Other people said that, is it going to be the future? We've heard that, right? We've also heard that Jaco was coming out, and that never happened either, did it? I never thought it would, actually. Something like that, but not in the way it's prescribed. Will crypto be the future? Something like that, but not what we have right now. So it is a precursor of something that's coming. It's setting the stage. But what we have right now for crypto, I don't think is perfect, right? There are some things in there that are going to be and are at this point working very well. XRP is one of them, but XRP, like their other crypto coins, is probably going to go down significantly in the future. And at some point it will come back. When that is remains to be seen. And maybe we'll just get a pullback and it'll go to new highs before it finally collapses. We'll see. Other things, silver, it pulled back, but it's the same pattern that we saw in the last pullback. If this is the pullback, then probably everything's going to go down, right? Silver probably come down too, gold, and then silver and gold will rocket, right? Because you have to have some value, and throughout time, people have ran to silver and gold when everything else is collapsing. So we're going to see pretty much everything collapse because the deep state, Kazarian mafia, Jesuits, and so forth have gained way too much control. They're infiltrated through too many things. They control too much. And the only way to fix this is to have a complete collapse, right? And that may come from we the people. We the people may have to, like I've talked about and other people have talked about, have to institute our own judicial system and what comes from that. So we've talked about how and this has happened throughout time. This is not something that I'm just making up. I've talked about this for a while. I hope that it didn't have to come to this, but it will come to that if somehow this whatever corrupt judicial system is not fixed to the point where it can actually start to hold people accountable to justice, then we the people will do it, right? And that's, like I said, it's happened throughout time. You see the French Revolution, you see the American Revolution, Russian Revolution, whatever revolution you want to pick, all the way back to ancient Greece, you name it, Rome, whatever. If things get out of hand like they are right now, if they don't get fixed by the system, then the people rise up and they fix it, right? So that's what we're going to see in the future. Whether it happens, we the people do it or not, remains to be seen, right? So there are many different options or many different things that we're going to see going forward. And we'll talk about a lot of those. So first of all, let's look at the geologic activity that's going on. Like I've said, we have some very potential problems coming in the near future, like this month, right? Whether it actually happens remains to be seen, but I see it, and I've seen it as coming. I predicted it at the beginning before this year even started, right? So we're going to watch things unfold as they unfold, and that's the way these things work. So we had a 4.3, I believe it was, 4.3 earthquake in Cali yesterday. One of the things I want you guys to be aware of, USGS is saying that aftershock forecast for the 8.8 Russian Kamchatka Peninsula earthquake. They're saying estimates indicate a high probability of magnitude 7 or larger aftershocks for the first 7 days after. So that puts us into the first week of August, where I said from the first week of August into the second week, somewhere in that time frame, we're going to see a very tremendous earthquake. So we'll see if that happens. So we have the forecasting is USGS a complete science center, or is there manipulation that goes on there? I say yes to both. All right, yes to both, and we'll see how that works out going forward. So, like I said, the 4.3 magnitude earthquake striking Southern California, and I see somewhere around in this area multiple massive earthquakes rippling through several fault lines in California. Now, unfortunately, the problem that I see with this is that a lot of people have an idea or have the idea that they're going to escape once an earthquake or a tsunami happens. There's been a lot of talk about a tsunami hitting the west side of I-5. So I-5 goes all the way up through California. Now, if a tsunami does happen to that magnitude or greater, then that's pretty devastating for those people that live on that side. It could be a warning. Now, my visual is that it happens in the middle of the night. So that sounds like deep state is going to knock this off on us. Something that is coming, but it's going to be ripped into a more mega quake and activated probably sooner than it might be otherwise. So middle of the night, that's the way they like to strike. They've done that for a lot of different things that we've seen over the last year or so, especially. So we'll probably see this happen during that time frame. Now, some may get the warning. I would hope that all the way up and down the coast, they have the tsunami warning sirens or something, which I don't know. I haven't even researched that, but I don't remember anything like that when I lived in Southern California. Or any, they were never tested. I don't know of any. So it could be pretty catastrophic if that happens in the middle of the night and people don't get the warning. So that could be part of the plan as well, of course. And those that do get the feeling, or they get the warning by chance, maybe the phones go off and they got like 15 minutes to get out of there before it's all over, right? And they jump in the car, of course, like we saw in Hawaii, where people tried to get to higher ground and they were stuck in traffic. Probably even though it might happen, as I'm anticipating, in the middle of the night, like zero dark 30, where everybody's deep asleep, and you're not going to wake up so easily. For me, I turn my phone off at night. So if it was some kind of, if it wasn't any sirens going off or anything like that, or if I suspected. So if I lived in Southern California, or not Southern California, all the way up and down the coast of the west coast of the United States, even down into Mexico, of course, I would start leaving my phone on at night. All right. So in case something starts to come through, you're going to want that. All right. You're going to want that going forward, whether it's this month or whether it happens some other time later down the line. You want to start to have your phones on, unfortunately, for you guys in California. Now, if that does happen and the earthquake really causes a lot of damage, and it is more legit, meaning that the Earth is actually responding to energies, or if those energies are, set off some way by some kind of, mine or something that's been left there, or I don't know, a nuke device or whatever, or if it's legit, like I said, it could actually be legit. Then it could domino effect into the other fault lines. That's what I'm saying. So even if you did get the, get out of town because tsunami's coming, you may get impacted by earthquakes that are starting to ripple and destroy roads, power plants, all that kind of stuff inland. So there won't be any escape. Or it could be vice versa. The earthquakes happen, fault lines, ripple, and there's no escape because the roads are ruined, and that could be a problem as well. So have an evacuation plan, and also have a go bag where you have just essentials, a little med kit, maybe water, and so forth. You should have that. Being in Southern California, you should have that already, or being in California, period. And I should start saying on the West Coast. If you live on the West Coast, you need to be ready, right? And this isn't me fear mongering. I mean, the evidence of science is already there. It's already starting to happen. It's been happening. So you got this 4.3 magnitude earthquake right next to the San Andreas fault zone, right? Just a little bit north of where you see where this earthquake went. It's not showing it here, but that's where the San Andreas fault zone is. So it's starting to wake up. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be significant when it does go, right? And I'm not the only psychic that sees this, all right? So you need to just be prepared. You may need to hunker down if you survive the earthquakes and there's no escape. You may have to be in the area you're at for a long period of time. Helicopters might be the only way to get in to get a lot of people if the earthquakes do shapeshift the road system and so forth, and cause power to go out. So you won't have electricity, you won't have water, you won't have many of the services that you take for granted now. Hopefully you'll still be able to, get some kind of, if you have satellite, if you should have a satellite. I've had a satellite system for 4 years now. And I highly recommend everyone have a satellite system, right? So this is what I see coming. Like I said, there's other people that are seeing this. The science is there, so you need to prepare. Right? I don't think the deep state media, which is completely controlled by them, they want to see chaos, right? And they, like I said, they very possibly will be activating this to a certain extent. That's what I see as well, and making it worse than it would have been otherwise. All right, so let's look at Stefan Burns. Now he's saying that he doesn't see another big one, but he's already starting to talk in this same show that he has here. he talks about how he sees, kind of like me, that California is going to get hit, right? So he tries not to be one of the fear mongers, but then again, he is using the science to like look at this, and it's pointing to this thing really starting to take off. So the sun is reawakening as legendary 8-8. So that's the Lion's Gate planetary alignment approaches. So there's like alignment with the planets. That isn't necessarily, as we've had lots of alignments with planets, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the end of the world. We've heard this so many times. The real thing that's happening is electrical energy that's coming from the sun that's activating the earth. We're moving into this cosmic realm where we know that I'm looking at the sun right now. The sun is white. It used to be yellow. So there's different energies that are coming in. The sun is being activated. The earth is being activated. And all of these have been predicted for decades and longer. So I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. I've seen in the past where there was a 3 days of darkness. I've talked about this for decades. I don't talk about it so much anymore because it seems to be, it's going to come in its own time. The time where it would have come in the past it's been delayed. So we could be getting to the point where humanity can handle the 3 days of darkness. And I'm not talking about they just shut down the internet and broadcast like we've heard, right? That could be a disinformation thing, possibly. So the 3 days of darkness is literally, this happened in the past where the earth is clothed in darkness, complete darkness for 3 days, right? And then when it's light again, consciousness has changed, all right? So you just need to be calm and cool during the 3 days of darkness if it does happen. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I know a lot of you guys aren't completely into this. You don't understand it. You don't want to understand it. You want to be, not knowledgeable about this because it is a heavy burden for some people. For me, I want to know the truth, and I've sought out the truth. And these are things that you can do your own research and look into these things. So let's see what Stefan Burns says.
On to the live stream. If you're new here, I'm your host, Stefan Burns. What we cover on this channel is what's happening with the earth energetically, which means that we get to look at a whole bunch of different things accurately in order to stand the larger context. That's geologic activity like earthquakes. That's also weather activity. This is geophysical energies like the Schumann resonances. Then we have to zoom out. We look at solar activity, space weather, right? What's happening with the solar wind, geomagnetic storms. We're looking at what's happening with the planets, their alignments, planetary resonances, synodic cycles. We zoom even further out. Where are we in our interstellar and cosmic environment? How are those energies changing? Like, for example, nova events, supernovas.
So I think that's really good. He's basically zoomed out. This is science. You can study each one of these areas that he's talking about and get some kind of understanding. We're in a period of time where things are definitely going to change, right? And you can deny it to yourself. It's up to you, or you can become informed and maybe get yourself and your family into a place where you're going to be safe for the short term or for the long term. Maybe it's a good time to take a vacation away from California for the next couple of weeks. I don't know. So if you feel like fear mongering you and you're getting really excited, you feel fearful. That's not what my intention is. My intention is to inform you so that you can use your own intuition and make, good decisions. And who knows, maybe you feel that you're supposed to be there. Nothing happens. It's great. And then you go, Mike, you're still full of crap. It's unbelievable. And that's fine too. But eventually this thing is going to happen. All right, let's look at more.
Metaphysics. All this is important. I do not claim to be an expert on any of these things, but I do consider myself a bit of a polymath and a Renaissance man. So we do our best to look at the comprehensive picture. I release videos almost daily doing that. If you like the sound of that, then please subscribe. The channel has been growing very fast because of all of you amazing, wonderful people here. Hello and welcome. So if you'd like to jump in before we hit that 500K marker, then I would recommend you do so. About 50% of you that watch are not subscribed, which is kind of mind-blowing to me. But regardless, I respect your decision, whatever it is.
So that decision not to subscribe, for your mind, it gives you the out. So if you don't subscribe and something happens or something doesn't happen, then you're, it's nothing on you. You haven't, committed. So that's one of the things that you need to do. If you haven't, committed to learning about this stuff, or at least have an open mind about it, go ahead and subscribe. All right. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to his channel, and subscribe to other channels. And you don't have to necessarily watch us every day. If something intrigues you or something's happening in your environment, or you feel that you should be watching, then you're going to watch. But if you stay uninvolved, like he's talking about, which most people do, then you set yourself up for disappointment and something else, right?
To be here to support you with your quest to understand what's happening energetically, what the earth is doing, and more. So yeah, our 131 angstrom view shows quite a lot of sunspots distributed across the disk. We do have a lot moving out right now, but we have new ones coming in, and 4167 there definitely is growing quickly. Let's give it a look with our intensitygram, and I'm hoping that we can load up our 2-day intensitygram so I can show you the growth of this, because it is quite remarkable. So let me get this pulled up, and this should do it right here. That's not what we want. Wrong monitor. Here we go. So here is our 2-day intensitygram, and I'll have to keep hitting it so it loops. But watch right there. Look at 4167, how quickly that appears, and look how significant that is getting too. It's popping out really fast. Also, this group right there, 4166, I believe. But look at that. That is a significant sunspot now. And it's still building all these cores in between. That's kind of one of the key things to watch for as well. Because normally sunspots will have this differentiation process like this. And that is certainly unfolding. The cores are moving.
So everything is energy, electrical energy. So the sun is electrical. A lot of people think of it as just, a wave impacting us and impacting the earth. And it's happening on a greater magnitude than been seen for a very long time. All right. So that's Stefan Burns. Great guy to follow. I look at him pretty much every day. Another one that I like to follow is On the Pulse with Silky. So she's very, very informed as well, sharing information. I don't agree with all the stuff that she shares, but she seems to be on point for a lot of stuff. And her channel also has grown quite significantly.
Why is it shifting, and what is the conclusion that we can draw from this? So these shifts are indicating that there are aftershocks, or that this amount of aftershocks, they're not the classic aftershocks that are occurring in the same section of the fault zone where the main earthquake occurred. It's rather that this main shock, the 8.8, has triggered basically a cascade or a domino effect that is rippling through this fault line. It's leading to the...
All right. So Stefan Burns, he talked about in that show where he saw that California, he saw significant earthquake activity coming for California. And now, remember I said in my remote view that it was like a seesaw. There was the earthquake activity that happened in Russia, like we're seeing, and then it was going to seesaw, like she's talking about, down to Japan and cause potentially another earthquake. So if this is a pre-shock, like I believe it is, then the next one will be larger in magnitude. I think significantly larger, and cause the kind of tsunami that everybody was really concerned about, actually causing that tsunami and probably something greater. So it's interesting because the Russians did their earthquake looking at the earthquake, and they said it was only a 7.2. So as USGS, like I said, manipulating the data, I've seen them manipulate the data over time. So possibly. Now, why would they manipulate the data higher? Because normally they manipulate the data lower. So it started at an 8, and then they went to 8.7, and then they went to 8.8, which is very rare for USGS. Like I said, usually they downgrade earthquakes. So upgrading it like that was interesting to me. So evidently the Russians, they downgraded it in their system to a 7.2. Now with the USGS upgrading it and then saying that there is the chance for a 7 or greater magnitude earthquake aftershock type event, it sounds like they're setting the stage for something larger and something maybe planned. All right, so just keep that in mind.
Of stress in other areas of the same fault line. So it can be assumed that large parts of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, which is in total over 1,800 miles long and up to 7 miles deep, that's a monster, that the full length is under stress that will sooner or later lead to strong earthquakes. And you remember at the beginning, I said part of it has released stress. So what does that mean? We could see more, unfortunately. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. North of the trench, the plate boundary bends to the southeast where it merges with the Aleutian Trench. There's also a bend in the south of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, where it merges into the Japan Trench near Hokkaido. We've seen earthquakes there recently in the higher ranges. Stronger.
So it's been, like I said, like it's a back and forth. It's like you're on a seesaw at the park, when you're a little kid. You push and the seesaw on your side goes up and it goes down on the opposite side, and then they push and the seesaw goes over. So it's like it's big earthquakes in the Japan Trench area, and then another larger earthquake in the Russian Kamchatka area. And then now are we moving to, which I believe, a much larger earthquake in the Japan side. So it remains to be seen if that's the case, but I believe we're moving in that direction. And the faults, or not the faults, but the earthquake activity is moving towards the aftershocks, pre-shocks I call them, are moving towards Japan. So the seesaw event that I saw in my vision, and then when the one happens in Japan, not only will the tsunami travel over, but the energy travels over to California, and off the coast of Oregon, California, I believe is where it's really going to knock hell out of fault line there and cause a tsunami, and or the San Andreas and other fault lines to trigger and start to really cause a lot of damage. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So that's the science of that. So you can go, well, that's metaphysical mumbo jumbo, but the science of that is actually moving in that direction, right? So, and that's what I like to have my visions backed up by science, and that kind of confirms to me that they're moving in the right direction, right? So we'll see. Things can change. Everything changes, and how does it change? It changes because our consciousness helps it to change. Now, I think that we're going to have to learn the hard way. Like me, not some people, but there's going to be, and because we help to mitigate a lot of this energy, but for the amount of manipulation and the amount of energy that's coming into Earth, and the Earth is doing its changing to releasing energy, pent-up energies and so forth, just like we do, we're going to see, I think, some serious activity. And regardless of whether we're going to be able to mitigate that through consciousness, we can, I think, but we're not there yet. So I think a really good, hard, just like in any kind of war. Now, I don't think the Earth's at war with us. I don't think God's at war with us. But there's like a teaching. There's always a teaching opportunity, and that's what when I was a SEAL instructor or hand-to-hand instructor or whatever, there were teaching opportunities where a little bit of discomfort, right, would lead to an enlightenment period, right? So that, I think, is what's coming for your humanity. And so the trauma of some situations oftentimes lead to greatness, right? And a lot of people don't want to look at that, and that's fine, because you probably won't be along for the ride if that's your consciousness, where your consciousness is at. But those of us that do understand that, and those of us that are ready to make that transition but haven't yet, and need a little prodding, that's what's going to happen, I believe, right? So it's not just, those of us that are in the United States that are going to be affected. It's going to happen. These earth changes are going to happen all over the world. So here is Campe Flegrei. That's a tongue twister for me. But in where Vesuvius in Naples and all that area is, I believe we're going to see a super volcanic activity happen here.
Bringing another update from Campi Flegrei in Italy. Located in southern Italy, the Campania region holds centuries of history and remarkable natural events. This land is home to iconic cities like Naples, Pompeii, and Herculaneum, all marked by a deep connection to volcanic activity. Especially notable is the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, which completely destroyed Pompeii and Herculaneum.
Now, I've been to Pompeii when I was in the military, plane that I was on leaving Egypt after we did some training with Egyptians. Basically had a problem, so it landed in Italy, and so we had a little time off while they tried to fix the airplane. Eventually, they just had to get another aircraft for us. But during that time frame, we got to visit Naples, and we went down to Pompeii, and so there was a lot of people that died there, and quite a lot of destruction. So a lot of us think that, AD 79, that seems like a long time ago. It was. And Herculaneum and Pompeii were forgotten for a very long time, for well over 1,000 years. And then they just happened to, dig and find the stuff. And there's like, oh, it's a city here. And then it all came back, right? Or, who knows how this stuff is. Of course, the mafia came in and stole a bunch of the, and they still do, stole a bunch of the statuary and so forth. They probably sell it for pretty ridiculous price. And and I'm sure they've been doing that for decades. But they're still unearthing parts of Pompeii and Herculaneum, still unearthing them. So that was a very, very massive, eruption. And it's very possible that we're going to see that again. Now, there are large areas of the city that have been built around probably areas that are going to explode. Phreatic eruption, which is basically explosive force. And so there's, of course, they don't want to sound the alarm. Kind of like me, it's kind of sucks to, come out and sound the alarm, because people are going to, hate on you. And that's kind of what is going on there. People are like, well, are you sure? And it's like, nothing's ever sure, right? So, but we're pretty close here. And I feel this is gonna really erupt.
One of the most remembered events in global geological history. Today, Campania is home to over 6 million people and hosts one of the world's most dangerous and closely monitored volcanic complexes, the Phlegraean Fields. This vast volcanic caldera system stretches for miles, kilometers, and is directly integrated into densely populated urban areas. The constant threat it poses makes the region one of the most sensitive when it comes to volcanic risks. Recently, signs of instability have increased. Seismic activity around Mount Vesuvius and the Phlegraean fields has risen, with frequent tremors exceeding magnitude 1. Although considered low intensity, the frequency and pattern of these quakes are raising concern among specialists. Tremors have even been recorded on the island of Capri, heightening the alert. While official statements from the INGV, the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, maintain a reassuring tone, a prominent voice from within the institution has chosen to break the silence. Giuseppe De Natale, a renowned researcher and volcanologist, stepped forward to voice concerns that, according to him, can no longer be ignored. De Natale stated in an interview that signs point to a potential sudden eruption, particularly of the phreatic type, similar to the one that created Monte Nuovo in 1538. He believes that current evacuation plans are inadequate and fail to consider the complexity and speed at which a crisis could unfold. His call is clear: progressively relocate residents from the so-called red zone to safer areas as soon as possible. The researcher bases his warnings not only on recent technical analyses, but also on decades of continuous observation of local volcanic and soil behavior. He highlights a phenomenon known as Bradyism.
All right, so there you have. So this is science. Science is saying, get out. And people are like, well, kind of like the Pompeians and Herculaneums. They're like, nah, they don't know what they're talking about. It's just a little ash. We've had ash before. And then the pyrotechnic explosion happened, and superheated gases of 1,000+ degrees came in and just basically wiped out all physical life that was exposed. Some people, it seems like, may have survived inside some of the buildings, and then they got buried by ash. So the ash really came. It fell like snow, a blizzard, and it just kept coming down. People couldn't get away. They were trapped. Maybe the air was oxygen was really low, and maybe they died from not having enough oxygen. So a lot of people that were embraced, clinging to each other. So there's a possibility that could happen in Camp Phlegrae. Will it happen? A lot of people don't like to think about disasters and that it could happen to them. That's why there's a lot of disasters happening to take out a lot of people, because they don't want to believe that they could be part of a disaster. So we learn from this. We learn to trust our intuitions, move like I did when you feel like it's time to go. Maybe Florida will be fun. I don't know. So, but I felt it was time to get out. All right, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. And there's lots of things, like I said, that can change timelines. Consciousness being one of them. Now, not only does the sun, activate the Earth, but it also activates the movement of storm systems, energetic of currents and so forth. It seems like the currents are being, stimulated. And so there's lots of flooding that's going on, not just in China, but also, as I'm going to point out, we've had 1,000-year floods throughout the United States over the last month or two. And just recently we had yesterday we had massive flooding in New York City. So let's look at the flooding that's happening, ongoing flooding that's happening in China, just so you get an idea, just how bad things can get, right, with the energies that are fluxing through our planet. So there was a warning system. All right, so you've seen roads, like I talked about, roads gone, so there's no escape. 130 villages powerless, roads washed away, so people were trapped. Hopefully they have water and food, right, for several days, and I would recommend months, right? So we'll see.
Beijing, July 30th, 2025. A relentless sequence of torrential downpours brought Beijing to a standstill over the final days of July, unleashing the most severe flooding the city has witnessed in over a decade. Between July 28th and 30, near constant rainfall, measuring up to 573.5 millimeter in some districts, transformed streets into rivers, isolated entire communities, and exposed persistent vulnerabilities in the capital's urban infrastructure and emergency response systems. In the northern districts of Miyun and Yongqing, the city's mountainous terrain acted as a natural funnel, channeling rainwater downhill with violent force. High-speed torrents surged through low-lying zones, overwhelming drainage systems and triggering sudden surges in river levels.
All right, so let's look at all of the information they have here. Deadly flash flooding. They have drone footage there. So they start out with 60 plus dead. I saw another one where it was like 70 plus. Here it is, killed 70. So, you know, over time, you know, more of the stuff gets exposed, and you have higher and higher deaths. Right? Unfortunately, there was one where I read where senior citizen home, 30 people died in that because they can't really do anything for themselves. A lot of them, you know, their brains don't operate normally anymore, unfortunately, and they're in a bad situation. Maybe they're, you know, have health issues or in wheelchairs and so forth, or on medications that kind of doles them out, and maybe on life support, or who knows. But 30 people in a senior citizen home perished with flooding. So imagine those poor seniors in there, unable to escape. There's not enough people to help them get out of there, and they drown in, you know, the home that they're supposed to be safe in. So that's one of the things we need to look at. Somebody actually put that in a chat that I should bring that up. So that's why I wanted to focus on that. So if you're in an area that is possibly prone to future problems, Florida, New York, the West Coast, then you should be maybe looking out for the senior citizens too, right? And maybe have a plan to help them out, visit them in case the situation turns dire. And if not, you know, get them out of harm's way, at least, you know, support and comfort them during a time frame where things could get really bad. So people just, you know, most people are going to focus on themselves, survival mode, but try and, you know, get to the point where you can, you help others, right? That's going to make a difference, I think, going forward, as far as like casualty rates, right? I see casualty rates we'll never know the total casualty rates going forward. So millions upon millions are going to be lost, but you know, we've had this happen in wars. So losing a lot of people. This is something that deep state really, really wants. We know. So they're not going to help us. So emergency systems in a lot of these areas, especially California, have been massively compromised. Unless you're in a community where you have taken action. But if you've depended on the government there in California, you're going to die, right? If something happens, you're absolutely going to die, right? So if you don't have your stuff together, and you have a community that will support each other, it's not going to work out for you, right? So that's where it could be something like that everywhere, right? Nevada, Nevada's probably going to have some problems, Las Vegas and so forth. So we'll see a lot of places are going to have, lots of problems going forward, I think. And this could be, as we move forward into the collapse of the economic system, like we talked about, the system has to collapse. It will collapse on its own, I believe. But if not, then it will get a little push, which I think President Trump is doing. All right, President Trump, I believe, is pushing this economic system into a collapse, and a lot of people are going to blame him for the collapse, which is, he knows that's coming. All this, right? You like me sharing this stuff. A lot of people blame me for this stuff coming because I talk about it, and therefore I bring the energy to it. So to me, that's ridiculous, and I think for most of you, that's ridiculous. But for some people, that's the way their minds work. All right. So states of emergency for New York and New Jersey. And we're going to see a lot of video of flooding in that area. Afternoon storms dropping, extreme rainfall.
Road closures forcing water rescues and causing commuter chaos. We have our team strategically placed in the areas hardest hit. We start with Melissa, Colorado, live in Bayside, Queens, where that storm dumped 3 inches of rain. Melissa.
And Natalie, you remember what these tracks look like at 6 o'clock and 7 p.m. And I mean, it almost looked like a river. Major progress since then. And it's all thanks to those crews right behind me. You can see they've been here all night long with multiple pumps pumping all of that water out. But this storm just pummeled Bayside, the LIRR tracks, the Clearview Expressway, as well as people's basements, all flooded. And right now, the goal here is to get the Bayside station reopened for the morning commute. This I've never.
So basements, people with basements are first floors. We got multiple floors, like I did in my Florida home. You got to store your survival gear somewhere, right? So, a lot of people put stuff down in the basement, and now it's gone. Just like my stuff in Florida, all my survival stuff, all the food stuff. Of course, fortunately, I have second floor, which still had a lot of stuff up there too. So it wasn't a complete loss, but mostly a loss, right? Solar generators gone, all kinds of stuff gone, right? So initially I guesstimated it was like $35,000 worth of stuff, and as time goes on, I think it's closer to 50. And who knows? As time goes on, maybe it's even more. But I was prepped. I'm a prepper. I've been a prepper pretty much my whole life. And you have to be aware that you may have to just leave all that stuff behind. And that's kind of what happened to me, the realization that, if things go bad, which I saw that they were going bad, that's why I left that place. Before I'd stuck it out, I was able to steer things with consciousness and so forth. I had been steering that storm, but it had turned into a beast. From the beast, of course, the deep state had turned it into something that even I couldn't manage anymore. So that's why I say that we need more people that are involved in this, more people to do the courses that I have online that are very cheap now, become the master of your own reality, remote viewing, all that stuff. A lot of you have been starting to go in there now that I've been bringing it to your attention again. But we're really going to need more people like that in the future that have those capabilities. And we can, mitigate some of this stuff. You're going to learn the hard way. A lot of people, some people will just never aren't going to learn, and they don't want to learn. So that's where we're at. And even though they don't want to learn, or they're not in a position like seniors that have lived their lives in their, in homes, they're just kind of for the last few years or decade of their life. I want them to, be able to, have that. They're probably not going to get involved. Maybe some of them, but because it takes a long time, really, for most people to get to the point where you understand this stuff. I mean, I see people, I see men, they're all like, puffed up with, testosterone and looking at everybody like, what are you looking at? I'm a tough guy. It's like, that's, I was never like that. But I see that now, and it's like those are the type of guys who are probably going to disappear from the earth, right? Unfortunately. So that's where we're seeing some of this stuff. That's why the consciousness is going to actually happen the way it's going to happen. I know a lot of you ladies are trying to, calm your testosterone blowed up men into understanding the intuitive side, invest more appropriately, like in silver. And I hear from a lot of you that your boneheaded husbands don't want to go there, right? There's a lot of men out there that are just going to blow me off and not, take, even though the science there, because I know a lot of guys are very analytical like I am, but I also have that intuitive side. I'm very balanced. But a lot of guys are very, very analytical, and they have trusted that, and they're not going to get out of that, and they don't care, right? And that's not going to be good going forward. They're going to find out.
Like that at all, ever.
The Long Island Railroad tracks in Bayside looked like a lazy river. Trains to Port Washington and Penn Station canceled. A train packed with passengers headed to Penn Station early this afternoon grinded to a halt after floodwaters almost reached the platform.
We were stuck for about 2.5 hours.
Workers brought in a diesel train to safely evacuate the passengers.
I'm now getting hot. I'm getting sweaty. I'm claustrophobic.
All right. So she's bummed because she got a little sweaty. But, in the future, there's not going to be the social services. That's going to, because everything's going to be overwhelmed, right? When the earth changes really start to kick in, if you don't have it together yourself, you're not going to survive, right? And you get a little sweaty and then everything shuts down for you, then you're going to sweat to death, right? Wherever you're at, that's the end of it, right? And maybe you don't care because you don't want to have to, deal with this stuff. There's a lot of people out there like that. If they get outside their comfort zone, they'll commit suicide or just let themselves be taken, right? All right, so that's one of the things that we're looking at. The consciousness of humanity rising. It's going to get a push to rise. Some people are going to resist, right? And some people will resist until they no longer exist, right? And that's the way this has happened for millennia, right? So when invading armies come, some people are like, I don't care. And, they come in, if they're lucky, they get some soldier kills them instantly. If they're not so lucky, they die slow death, and it's very horrible, right? So Trump stations nuclear subs to appropriate regions following Russia's provocative statement. So this is Medvedev. So Medvedev was the president. So if something were to happen to Putin, who's the level-headed guy, and hasn't been provoked by the West, NATO, and so forth, because they have crossed his lines over and over again, because they want to kill half the earth, right? Or more. We already know that. They've tried with the COVID vaccine. They've tried with, starting another war with Russia or China. So they're provoking. And fortunately, we have Trump and we have Putin. But Medvedev is basically sent, and we may see Putin get taken away. Because if NATO sends troops in there, they're going to want Putin to kick their ass. And that's the people of Russia. Just like the people of the United States. If, a foreign army came in and invaded Mexico and then started to press against our border, which Ukraine did, right? With the help of NATO. Now, remember also that Trump is saying, hey, I gave you a 50-day deadline, and now I'm gonna make it 10 days. And you need to go to peace agreements and so forth. Remember, Russia has signed 2 peace agreements, the Minsk Accords, already. and NATO has effed them on that. And they signed those peace accords so that they could ramp up, their military side. And that's and then they started the attack, right? And now Russia's having to clean up. Russia's not going to stop, guys. They're not going to listen to Trump. They're not going to listen to NATO. They're going to destroy the Ukraine army because they know that if they let it survive and NATO comes in and stops them, blocks them, they're going to build that army up again and they're going to attack Russia just like they were, right? And kill the people of Ukraine that are Russian speakers and don't want to become Naziized, right? So that's so let's look at what Medvedev said and what got Trump in a hissy fit about it, right? So we're going to talk about what's going on here potentially with Trump flailing around. And it has to do with the deep state is very much entrenched, guys. He's a one man and his group, one man and his army against the world that's firmly entrenched in everything in society. It's staggering what he has to overcome. So if he doesn't do it in the time frame that you want, you can blame yourself because you're not getting involved to help. All right. So here's what Medvedev said. Trump's playing the ultimatum game with Russia, 50 days or 10. He should remember two things. Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards war, not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road. So what's a Sleepy Joe road he's talking about? He's talking about the deep state road, guys, obviously. So he's warning Trump not to align with the deep state, keep doing what you're doing, and stop pushing on us while we take out the deep state within our own territories. And Putin has said, Ukraine is Russia, and we're going to take it back. Period. So that's where this thing is going. Now, Trump said, based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions. So it's lip service to, the deep state bubbas that want to see this thing go a certain direction so that, he can keep saying this, keep talking tough while Russia continues to decimate the Ukrainian supplied NATO supplied army, right? NATO, why was NATO built? To stop the aggressiveness of the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is gone. NATO should be gone. But NATO was always Nazi. And the Nazis always wanted to take Russia. That's why they invaded Russia, right? But they failed. And they are failing again. They don't like it. And so they're like swinging wildly. And Trump is letting them swing wildly. And he's like, yeah, what they said, in the background while he's like high five, making the high sign to Putin to keep kicking their ass. That's what I think. I could be mistaken. If I'm mistaken, then we're all in big trouble, right? Again, if Putin goes away, then you're seeing Medvedev, who's a major hawk, war hawk. He's not going to play around. If somebody steps over, he's going to hammer the hell out of them, and he's going to have the backing of the Russian people. Not that the Russian people are evil. To me, the Russian people are like Americans for the most part. So, anyone in here speak Russian? Truth or Mike? Yeah. I had a buddy that when I was in SEAL Team 6, he went and studied Russian for like a whole year. And he spoke a little Russian afterwards. So it's a tough language. It's one of the toughest one. of course, Chinese is the toughest. All right, so let's look at a little bit more. This is a gentleman that is extremely astute, and Martin Armstrong. So he cites sources close to him that have revealed NATO is planning to send 250,000 troops into Ukraine.
NATO's been looking at sending in 250,000 troops. The precedent is they did that to Bosnia in 1995, and they did it to Kosovo in 1999. Neither had anything to do with NATO. All right. What was the excuse? Oh, humanitarian. Okay. So they go in and they bomb the hell out of Serbs. Why? Because they supported Russia. That's it. And so that's the precedent that I'm hearing. They're going to call it humanitarian because Ukraine's going to fall. So they'll send in 250,000 troops. And the reason I did finally publish it is that one of the NGOs finally sent out a letter to some of its members privately confirming that they're going to do that.
So when they do that, and God help us if U.S. troops get involved, Russia will probably try and negotiate. You guys need to get out of the way. We're taking all of Ukraine back. We told you that. We're not doing any peace agreements with you guys because you guys break them, you lie, and we're not going to come into your countries unless you provoke us. So that's where this is going very rapidly, right? So not only do we have, the potential and possibility for major earth change events, some of them being aggravated by the deep state, the weather systems that are probably going to start to impact Florida within, the next weeks or two, also being exacerbated by the deep state. They still have power. They still have, are you confused about that? Do you think you've heard that the White Hats are in complete control? That is obviously not the case. I just told you how I got decimated. So it's very obvious to me, and it should be to you from my experience, sharing my experience, that the deep state is not done. So we have Tulsi Gabbard and all these people that are trying to bring attention to Hillary Clinton. Now they're saying Hillary Clinton will be the first one to be arrested. Now, I used to hear people say, I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm kind of like that now. I'm kind of like, we're probably, if we don't see it, then we're going to do it. And it's not going to be pretty if we do it. Because there's going to be blood in the streets and there's going to be people hanging from light poles, right? So get it done. Full speed ahead. Damn the torpedoes. You get it done or it's going to get ugly. We're not going to play around anymore. So now Leo talks about how he believes if we go in and start arresting these Democrats, then the Democrats are going to uprise, right? And they're programmed to do that. We saw that with Elon Musk, doing the Doge, coming in and taking down all the Democrats, demon rats, little like money laundering schemes. And so they came after Tesla, people that drove Teslas and Tesla dealerships. They didn't care that some of their people, a lot of the Democrats drove Teslas. Most Tesla drivers are probably Democrats, right? They believed all the bullshit about the Green New Deal and all that bullshit, right? So they will cannon fodder their people. We've already seen it. the Nazis, the brown shirts, when they got in power, the brown shirts helped them get in power. And when they got in power, they basically executed all the leadership in the brown shirts, right? So we've seen Antifa, we've seen Black Lives Matter. Once the Democrats got into power, basically they wanted to back burner, they didn't get all the money that they were getting before from corporations that are also corrupted by the deep state, right? Everything is corrupted. Everything. What part of everything don't you understand? The media, the medical, the Fed, every single organization is corrupted. The intelligence, everything, military, everything is corrupted. Not completely, but it is corrupted. So when you understand that, you start to see the bigger picture and how we're going to have to get more involved. We're just the way it is. I know a lot of people is like, well, government should take care of that. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're here. So we only have, I think, a little limited time frame where this is going to get done. Now, Ukraine, Kazarian Mafia, Central, was that way for a long time. Of course, what happened to Ukraine? Russia came in and spanked them, right? So they're out of control, doing their, thievery like they do now, stealing from people, taxation and all the bullshit they do, going into people's homes and stealing, and people in caravans that were like on, the Silk Road or whatever, stealing from them, raping children, and adrenochrome. All that stuff it's not something new. It's been going on for thousands of years. So Russia came in spanked them. That's why they hate Russia. That's why they attacked Russia, took Russia down, installed their own, like they try to do here in America. And for the most part, they're pretty successful. Every major city pretty much is Democrat, right? So for the most part, they have been very successful in overthrowing and taking America. That's what they did in Russia. They completely took over their country, the deep state. And then the Russian people threw them off. That's why the Russian people are not going to allow that to happen again. And they will fight to the death. Do you think American people will fight to the death to get rid of the deep state? No, because we have them all integrated among us. All right, so let's listen to Leo. If you haven't listened to this, I highly recommend, because Leo builds this up very gradually. So you may come in and you're like, so boring. But he builds it up, and then he takes it level by level, up, and more up. Right? So let's listen to this little part.
Because yes, we know that, like I said, I put together 1 and 1 is 2. No? So if you put together two people who have a similar background, Ghislaine Maxwell arrives in New York in the early 90s after the father was killed. But this was never definitive confirmation. She herself said he was killed, but there was no, others say it was suicide. But in any case, she was very popular in England because the father was owning the tabloids, which is the ultimate form of propaganda. So she wanted to...
Which it is in America. So the deep state owns it in UK, and Maxwell, which is not his real last name, it's a Ukrainian name. So they basically, and also Epstein, that's not his last name, it's a Ukrainian name. You see the trend. So we are seeing how this is. You can't listen to the news guys. They're completely controlled by the deep state. They may, yes, reveal a little bit of truth here. They may talk in a language that you like Fox News. They've basically they revealed themselves as being completely corrupt. So I don't watch Fox News anymore. I know they're corrupt. I don't care. And you shouldn't either. But yeah, you probably drifted back and now you're watching Fox again, aren't you? Yeah. So you're going to get lies and disinformation in programming, because that's one of the things that these news organizations also do. And these talk shows and these, late night and all that, this programming, they're all MK Ultraing us.
Live a different kind of life, away from the scrutiny. Back then it was possible. You didn't have the World Wide Web, you didn't have the social networks and so on. So she moved to New York. Then she was aided and the connection she had, and the major connection she had was with Jeffrey Epstein, who himself had.
So she and Epstein were in New York. So I've been revealing as much as possible that New York is deep state central. There, lots of Ukrainian Jews that are in New York, they helped, basically take down the Russia. They helped fund it. They had the leadership. They had people that were there in New York that went over with media propaganda. So some of the people that were living in New York, learning in New York, and of course in UK, they went to the Soviet Union after it was seized away from the Russian monarchy. The Russian people thought that this is just temporary, that our military is going to rise up and press them back. Sound familiar? All right, so that happened, and then for decade upon decade upon decade, we saw how they infiltrated, and eventually the Russian people rose up. Putin was part of that. That's why Putin is, they like Putin, because he's been there, he's pushed back, and he's helped take down the deep state and kicked them out of Russia. Or do you think the deep state's completely out of Russia? No, they're still in there operating. And if they get a chance, they'll take over again. So the Russian people know that. We in the United States know that. We have deep state everywhere. And they have very silent control of a lot of things. Silent. They're there, and they don't get activated unless they're needed, right? So this is part of the programming, the intelligence agencies, and we're going to get into a lot of that. I have some good videos on that. It's going to be a long show, so if your attention span is already gone, see ya. All right, come back and watch the other half.
Already a family friend, because he came into contact with this Robert Maxwell. Robert Maxwell's real name is Jan Ludwig Iman Benjamin Ock. And it's nothing, Maxwell is a construct. In 1946, he became British, and he decided that he would call himself Maxwell. It's great.
So it's insane. So it's not Maxwell, some kind of crazy Jewish name, right? So and so I'm going to go into a little bit more why they changed their names.
Sounds very very secret agent Maxwell. Yeah, sounds of course
like the current king, queen of England. They took the Windsor name. They weren't Windsor. They were a German name. And because of World War I, they changed it. They just stole the Windsor name.
Sure, because of course, their Hanoverian German origins were not favorable for the public.
You taught me that.
In any case, Robert Maxwell he comes from a town called Slatiski Doli. Now, where is this place? This place is in today's, historically is part of Rutenia, is now part of Ukraine. Both Rutenia and Podolia, who are approximately, now, let me tell you a little bit, Rutenia is more north, Podolia is more south, it will include parts of, I guess, Ukraine, a little bit of Moldova, a bit. These regions that they were fueled by people that had, been in their eyes blessed with the revelation of Jacob Frank. because Jacob Frank had pushed his revelation of being the Messiah in those areas, and he was accepted. And even when he himself.
All right, so they basically push these lies. Is this one guy? I guess I don't know, one of the relatives down. This guy said, "I'm the reincarnation of so and so, and like the Messiah or something." And so Kazarian, Tola Kazarian, and they lie. We already know they lie, and they make bullshit up to make people believe these lies, and then people follow them. So this is crazy. This is what we've been seeing for a lot of these people. Now, Trump reveals as much as he can. Remember when Trump was back in 2015, 2016 timeframe, where he was running for president against like 15 different GOP guys, and one of them was Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was the last one. And of course, they're attacking Trump. They're seeing that, oh, Trump's not our boy. We want Ted Cruz because we can manipulate and control him. So we heard from Trump. I got down to the wire, and he goes, "Oh, Ted Cruz, because his father was Cuban. Ted Cruz's father was around the area just around and before the time frame that JFK was assassinated." He just threw that out there. Then Ted Cruz withdrew from the race, right? Now, do you think Ted Cruz is done? No, he still does his bullshit. Ted Cruz is a deep state puppet boy, right? Now, of course, he says the right things occasionally, and he takes heat from the deep state. So everybody thinks he's a good guy. No, all right? He's a good guy, and so that he can get the deep state, stuff in there. So there was a book that he wrote. I think his last book. I read it, or I listened to it on audio, and he talked about how Richard Nixon was so bad. He's lying. He basically destroyed Richard Nixon again. So keeping the lie narrative, because Richard Nixon was going after the deep state. There's one comment where they asked him about the World Economic Forum, or the whatever it was called back then, and he says, "Oh, they're a bunch of fags." I went there one time, and I'll never go back again. And of course, they destroyed him. They destroyed Richard Nixon. So remember, I've told you, and Trump has said the same thing, that he spent a lot of time with Nixon. Nixon informed him quite a bit and taught him a lot. So I read Nixon's books and everything. Nixon was not a bad guy. He was destroyed by the deep state. And we still have people still destroying him, like Ted Cruz, still talking bullshit, right? So that's where you have to start to, like Leo talked about in that show that I did with him. He talks about that, how a lot of these people, you have to learn how to recognize them. And you're like, oh, he's a POS, right? I've said this about people. I've said this about people that everybody thinks are good. And they hang around with the Trump team and all that kind of stuff. And people are like, I don't agree with your assessment. You don't agree with my assessment? I'm a military guy, and I'm calling out other military guys and saying they're POSs. Were you ever in the military? Do you at the level that I was? So, you're going to have people that are swayed, manipulated consciousness wise, and so forth. So a lot of people think this one particular guy is a good guy. And he is basically gone behind the scenes and destroyed, as that I know of and have been informed about, two political careers that were very promising. So I don't know why this effer is allowed to stay around when it's very obvious to many of us. Now, some people that have called him out are dead now. And other people that called him out have been destroyed and are no longer in this, revealing anymore. So I'm still here. I'm going to be quiet about it. I'm just going to watch. And I'm going to watch people continue to brown nose this guy, and they're going to F around. They're going to find out, right? So it is something that we're going to see, I believe, going forward. More reveals and calling out some people, and people are just like, no, I'm not going to believe that one. All right. Okay. Well, do some research. No, I know they're good. Okay. So that's where we're at with a lot of this stuff. Now let's look at this article that Leo wrote, and we talked about it in our show, but there is something that I want to share with you guys about this. It was very revelatory for me to see this, and I understood things on a whole different level when I finally saw it. Let's see if I can find it. So in here, he talks about the Jesuits and so forth. There's a reason why they do the evil stuff they do, and we talked about that. I was kind of shocked about it. So of course you see right here the Pope, so the Jesuit with the Sabbatine Franks, the Khazarian Mafia. So they're aligned. And you see Trump in the background. How effective can he be when everything is compromised? Everything, like I said, everything. All right, so he's, that's probably one of the reasons why he keeps some of these people around. He probably knows they're totally effed up. Like I've tried to help everybody see it is what it is. All right. Maybe it's further down here. Anyway, they talk about how, so this is one of the lists right here of the people that were high-level people, right? A lot of you guys aren't going to recognize any of these names, but if you take one of these names and they are very wealthy, billionaires, control a lot of stuff. It's crazy. It's crazy how, like I'm saying, they're into everything. Easily, but it's not turns up. So there's a reason, like I said, and that's because they feel that if they do become good again, touch Satan or whatever with incredible evil stuff, and then they come back again and do good things, they're much better. They're much better. So there's a lot of crazy stuff they do. All right, I'm not going to spend any more time. One more little shot. That spread like a virus across Western Europe. And Sabbatine Frank's family, whose links to the so all he's talked about, and he's talked about them for years. So now it's all coming together. Let's go down another little rabbit hole. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts about this. So they found a burn bag. Let's see. When I was in Guam, forward operating base SEALs, and then I was in charge of classified information and so forth. The burn bags are basically, once you happens to a burn bag, it gets burned, right? In a special place where there's just ash, and then the ash is like, gone through and packaged and then sent out and dumped in the ocean. I don't know. So it is something that every command does. So it sounds like, they had information. And it says, reporter asked, says during press interaction, reporter questioned Trump about Patel's discovery. So Patel's FBI happened to find some burn bags that were in a room, not ever. And it wasn't burned. So for how long? But it was all the way back to Russia-Kaluga stuff. So they got all this information from these burn bags, right? So sounds like some of this stuff was found or they had it and they're like, well, let's say it was in burn bags and we found it, right? Because they're concerned about deep state too, I guess, right? Because they keep changing their stories, don't they? Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, because they know they get leaned on by the deep state. They're pervasive guys. So even they have to, no one's going to protect them from some of these people. They're so entrenched and so have so much. So anyway, it says Donald Trump responded with apparent confusion when questioned about reports that Kash Patel discovered a secret room. A secret room. You don't just store burn bags in a secret room and leave them there. If you put stuff in a burn bag, within a very short period of time, it gets burned. So yeah, it might be in a vault for a short period of time, but then it goes out and gets burned, right? And usually you don't put stuff in a burn bag until it's time for it to go get burned, right? And there's custody and all that kind of stuff that goes with ag filled with top secret information ever going to happen, right? So investigation. So like Leo said, they just keep this show going. Yeah, it's a movie, but it's a movie that keeps going and nothing gets resolved. Like you see right here, Hillary Clinton. Why is she still out there, or whoever's playing her? That doesn't look like her right there, but anyway, why is that even allowed to continue? Because the deep state is still control. Duh, right? But I thought, okay, Trump's in there revealing all this stuff. They're going to start arresting these people. And it's funny because Nino Rodriguez and Leo Zagami have like this gentleman's bet that Leo's like, they're not going to arrest Barack Obama. It's not going to happen. He's got presidential immunity. Now, I talked about this with Juan O'Save, and he said, yeah, we have a military option because blah, 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 blah. So Leo's like, no, none of that. And Nino's like, yep, they're going to arrest him, and it's going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see who's right. It's fun, right? So Leo, with his background, his knowledge, deep insights, and then of course Nino has a lot of insights from Juan, the Juan team, right? All right. So and I love Juan. I love Juan. So I don't know about his team though. All right. So and he comes on and says, I agree with you about 99%, but there's some things that I don't agree with you, because I've been outspoken on some people that he supports. All right. So when the reporter repeated burn bags, Trump replied, I don't know what you mean. He knows what he's been all about burn bags too. Everybody that's in classified stuff knows burn bags, right? Did you put that report that I said get rid of in the burn bag and it got burned? I really want that gone. So he's probably said that on many occasions, right? So bags full of, and then Trump came in. Oh, I thought you said appointed a man named Burnbag. So he's deflecting. So is he deflecting because they have some kind of sting operation going? Sounds kind of like it. I don't know. I'm not there. All I can do is a guy that's been there, done that, and I see what they're doing. I'm like, wow, you guys are like got some crazy shit going on, right? Just arrest the fucker, so let's go to get it over with, or we're gonna do it. You know we're gonna do it if you don't do it. Is that what you want? All right. So that's where we're getting down to. Trump, I don't know what you mean. So it's a deflection. It's absolute deflection. Why? Remains to be seen, right? Okay. So there's more stuff, but before I go into that, now you know that I've had lots of people on that were part of an organization from CIA and so forth, where they're sex slaves basically to different people. Kathy O'Brien, we've had Salome. She's fantastic. She told me, I'm going to read you a little passage. Now, these women, Kathy O'Brien's talked about this, and I've had Lynn Hagerman Scott that's talked also about her memories that are coming. So a lot of women are starting to wake up to this manipulative sex slave stuff, where they're passing information to different people. They're mind controlled, all kinds of, they're abused as children, and so forth. So this is what she says about Bill Clinton. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but she talks about a lot of people. Now, Bob Hope was her pimp, and so was Henry Kissinger. So they used her and other women like Kathy O'Brien and others to basically pass information and do sexual favors for the political realm so that they can control them. Like, Jeffrey Epstein on another level. So they have this whole organization, mostly CIA or Mossad or whatever organization controlled, where these women go in and do this stuff. So she says, over the years, Bill Clinton surfaced in higher level political circles. So once they start to rise in the political surface, they want dirt on, the deep state wants dirt on them so that they can manipulate and control them. And like JFK, they can assassinate them in front of the American public and just help destroy democracy and destroy the American way of life. So this is a constant thing they're doing to us. All right. So in 1992, before he was inaugurated, Kelly and I, so Kelly is her, I believe it's her daughter. So of course, it goes from generation to generation. Just like Kathy O'Brien talked about, her daughter was taken in the system too, but both of them are out now. So it sounds like basically this woman, Bryce Taylor's also, and Kelly are out of it too. So she says, and Kelly and I were prostituted to Bill Clinton in Klamath Falls, Oregon. On the ride to meet him, we were told, remember Chappaquiddick. That same type of accident could befall you. Now, you know that I've had, a lot of people on my show that have talked about being the hitmen for a lot of this stuff, right? James Files. James Files talks about he was there and they killed this woman. They put a bag over her head, suffocated her, put her in the back seat, pushed the car into the canal, pushed Ted Kennedy into the canal because he didn't want to get in the canal. And so he had to get wet. So it's like, okay, you crawled out the window and she didn't make it. And then you have to wait for a couple hours till we get on the ferry and get out of here so that we can't be implicated. All right. All of this stuff. And just people that have talked about this. So she comes on and talk about that. So they're being threatened. So obviously, Ted Kennedy, which Bryce Taylor also did. So they talk, and he told them that she was going to talk. So they came and took care of it. So he says, later on, I delivered messages from the deep state. They used these sex slaves to pass messages. Now, these sex slaves, like Bryce Taylor talks about, and also they are taught mind control to the point where they can remember things perfectly. Photographic memory, right? Kathy O'Brien talks about that. She would pass messages to, Reagan or whoever, right? And that's what she's talking about right now. So they're passing messages to Clinton, and they're trying to get his. So the deep state's like, hey, we want to do this. Are you on board with it? And he's like, I'm good with that. And then they take that information back, right? So they use these sex slaves as intermediaries. She talks about how she worked with Nelson Rockefeller in New York and Lee Iacocca to run drugs. She would be an intermediary running the drugs. And she is one of their high-level sex slaves. So she had a memory that she would say, if someone started to get out of line, she would say, there have been people, and she just, boop, just this would come out. There have been people that have, tried to manipulate those of us, and it always turns out very bad for them. So these sex slaves are very high level. They go through a lot of training. They start them as little children, sex slaving them as little children. So they're traumatized, and they have ways to traumatize them. Like, remember Chappaquiddick. That could happen to you. So they probably told them a story of how Chappaquiddick happened, right? And they probably use that a lot. So she goes into how they went and met him. Says, I was delivered aboard a very large ship, put into a stateroom and told to stay on the bed and wait for him, Bill Clinton. So he comes in without knocking, locked the door behind him. And then he says, I believe you have something for me. So he knew that, and she delivers them. So she talks about how he was. So anyway, I mean, and he kind of is like that. So you get some insights from this stuff. That's why I like to read it. It's like, I see that. I've met Bill Clinton. Yeah, he is kind of like that. A very feminine man. All right, so so she would have sex with together, and she was always involved. So we know that Bill had, I don't know. So they would do the drugs. Hillary took 3 or 4 times. It's like, wow. And the book is like, every page is like whatever. So they had also that they would be enamored of each other. So they had sex with her, and then she would program them and leave, and they're all like, into each other then. So it's wow. So now she says Bill Clinton is the president. So she goes on, sex slaves were used to sexually service both male and female members of the So I went out for a little bit there. So I guess I'm going in some very dicey areas, and they're hearing it. So if Bob Hope wanted them to go in so that they could, or Henry Kissinger wanted them to go in so that they get dirt on them, then that's what they were doing. So she goes on to talk about how now she was in Kauai, and she would also go to Maui, where they had that directed energy weapon. So they want to have that area. Maybe they just want to turn that into a total sex slave, fantasy island, Jeffrey Epstein Island area. So it's pervasive. It's pervasive. So she says, so they're trying to get information on how to manipulate both of the Clintons. So she would bring information to them, and she would register in her memory how they would respond. So they would pass information that would be shocking to them maybe. And she was discovering if they were shocked, their tone, how they reacted. She could pick all of that stuff up. And then she would go back to her handler, her pimps, if you want to call them that, and tell them verbatim how they responded, so that they would know how to manipulate them in the future by some process, because they're basically trying to destroy America. All right, so it goes on. She said, Henry often rode with me in the limo, Henry Kissinger, to the White House if he hadn't had time to load me. Sometimes he wanted to sharpen me up or check my systems. So they're like, she talks about how they're like robots. They program them, like mind control them and shatter them, their consciousness, and so that they can go in and say different things. Now, you know that I pointed some of this out to some of the people in Congress and Senate and so forth, and they freeze, right? And I want to take you to another level. I've explored this, and you can do your research yourself and go deeper into this, of course, or look at my past shows to get more insights. But these people, you know, they, like Bob Hope, Bob Hope was funny as hell. Can't believe that nerd was a black hat. So thanks for the memories. That was his song. And that's what she calls her book. Thanks for the memories. Boy, she had some good ones, right? Not. So very, very disturbing, right? Right. And that's the guy that everybody loved. And everybody looked up to Henry Kissinger. I didn't, but a lot of people looked up to him and thought he was like the maestro, you know, at, you know, handling, you know, the world stage. Yeah, he was a maestro at manipulating the world stage through different ways, sex slaves, Jeffrey Epstein stuff. And that's what we know about. It goes so much deeper, I bet. I've seen a little bit of it, right? From my point of view, being security. So it is something that we have to overcome. And people will say, we have to stop that, but they don't do anything. It's all talk. You got to get active, guys. Trump fires a senior official over job numbers. Now, this is CNN Business. CNBC is like, same thing. Mockingbird Media telling everybody that Trump is bad because he fires this woman that, oh, you didn't like the job number, so you fired her? No, I say she should be arrested because the job numbers were bad for a long time. And it's part of the manipulation and part of, like I'm talking about, the destruction of America. Okay, so the labor report Friday showed that the U.S. economy added only 73,000 jobs in July, far below expectations. It also sharply revised down the employment growth that had been previously reported in May and June by a combined 258,000 jobs. After the revisions, the jobs report showed the weakest pace of hiring for any 3-month period since the pandemic recession in 2020. So they've been keeping. So what does the Fed, the fake Federal Reserve, not federal, no reserve, what private company do they look at for the rates so that America doesn't have to pay as much in interest payments? You ever pay interest payments on a credit card? Yeah. I don't. I pay those suckers down now. I learned the hard way, and then I had to build it back step by step. And so a massive system. So looking at the job numbers and determining whether he's going to lower rates so that people can get a home for cheaper and a mortgage, I don't recommend it. Pay the thing for cash. You're going to pay for the thing. You're going to pay the friggin' thing 3 times over. I remember when I had a mortgage, when I had a condo, I was like, God, I paid this thing for 10 years and it's like barely budged. Like, what the hell? So I started making double payments, and it's like, and still barely budged. So 30 years. It takes 30 years to pay off. Let's say you have a $300,000 house. By the time you pay it all off, it's going to be $1 million house. It's bullshit. All right. But anyway, it's that high or higher depending on the interest rate that the Fed manipulates. And they've been manipulating it since 1913, when they were able to come into the dead of night and take over our government. Right. So the jobs. And so Trump has been saying, I want that interest rate down. So that would help Americans, and Americans wouldn't have to pay as much interest. So they it's the difference between paying a 21% credit card interest and a 8%, you're lucky if you get an 8%. I don't think they even have that anymore, but that's why I always pay my shit off. Right. So I don't like giving any bankster any money that I don't have to. Right. But they have ways. They have their ways to get it. And you have to be very vigilant. So anyway, Trump's like, bitch, you're fired. And all the news organizations are coming after Trump. This is the way this game is played, right? That's a deep state basically have been manipulating these, and somehow somebody found the burn bag. And the real numbers came out, right? That's the way these things are working. That's good. It's a slow, methodical process, but it is working, and probably in a slow, methodical process to the point where it's not going to make that much of a difference, guys. The whole system's got to go. All right, so let's look at what these banksters and their government manipulators have done. All right, so here's the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, of which this bankster manipulated woman was helping. Total non-farm payroll changed little in July, only up 73,000, and has shown little change since 86 reported today. Unemployment rate at 4.2% also changed a little in July. So here at visions for May and June were larger than normal. Why is it taking so long to find this out? Because they've already, the next time that the Fed is going to meet again is September. September, that's a long way away. So they keep that interest payment up. They keep, rates up high enough that people are getting destroyed. People can't afford housing. It's a destruction of America. Revisions for May and June were larger than normal. The change in total non-farm payroll employment for May was revised down by 125,000 from 144 to 19,000. How do you screw it up that much? I could say, maybe, 15,000 or 20,000. Yeah, you get fired. You get fired for doing, imagine, I'm on a SEAL team, and I'm supposed to jump out and, work my parachute and get down the ground and, get my weapons out and all that kind of stuff. And I screw up my parachute, is all, I don't land where I'm supposed to. I don't go where I'm supposed to go. I start shooting in the air to try and get everybody's attention. I'm lost out here. Yeah, I'm going to go away. That's what this woman did. She is a complete F up. You think that, if I was that effed up as a SEAL, that I would still be in the SEAL team? No, I'd be gone for a long time. I'm extreme. I can't think of anybody that screwed up that bad, but she did comparably. Yeah. And she got fired. And then all the news organizations like, Trump, he didn't like the number, so he fired her. No, she screwed up the number so bad that she got fired. She manipulated the number so bad she should be in prison, quite frankly, because she did it on purpose, obviously. And so let's look at the June was revised down by 133,000 from 147,000 to 14,000. That's insane. Should have arrested her. Maybe he still will. Or I don't know. No one seems to be getting arrested, right? It's all talk. We're going to have to do it. I could be on the detail that arrests her if I need to be, right? But first, we have to have a trial, right? So we have to, it's our civic duty when our governmental systems fail us to step up and do the right thing. All right. So the dark night of silver. Meet the billionaire betting $1 billion on monetary collapse. So I've been saying the billionaires are buying silver. They know something. All right. So this is David Bateman, not Bruce Wayne, but close. He's the billionaire tech founder of Entrada, and now apparently the newest self-styled guardian of sound money. All right, so this is what he says. Here are the reasons I invested close to $1 billion in precious metals over the past 6 months, including the purchase of 1.5% of the annual global silver supply, 12.69 million ounces. All right, the global monetary system is about to collapse. The Great Reset or Basel Endgame. The biggest credit bubble in history will soon pop, 300 trillion. There is no way the U.S. can refinance its 28 trillion in maturing treasuries in the next 4 years without an obscene amount of printing fake money. Trump tariffs are hastening the collapse, and it's by design. Gold and silver are the only meaningful life raft. Physical possession is everything. The whole world right now is a sophisticated game of musical chairs. The chairs are precious metals. Crypto is a psyop. Those who purchase will have no chair when the music stops. Real estate, crypto, stocks, and bonds will all lose significantly compared to precious metals. What have I been saying for years? Been saying all of this. Yes, I invest in crypto because it's easy money. It's obvious the thing is going to pump and then it's going to dump. Buy it when it's pumping at the low end, make profit, and then get out. It's easy money, has been. You guys that have been holding on for a long time are going to find out, right? The banking system has been meticulously designed to seize your assets to buoy up a collapsing banking sector. See the great taking. You have zero counterparty risk with precious metals. I am up 20% already on most of my purchases. This is not a drill. Your grandkids someday will either muse or lament this financial decision you're now faced with. Don't fail them. And you knuckleheads out there and your wives that are intuitive that have been listening to me, trying to convince you to get into silver, you're going to be lamenting, and your grandkids are going to be lamenting if you have any left, right? So this is not financial advice, for educational purposes only. So here's his silver. Look at all these pallets. So I was counting these silver bars. I assume they're probably 1,000 ounces. You can't get 1,000-ounce bars anymore because the billionaires are snatching them up before those of us in the lower retail side can get them. This has been going on for well over a year. So, yeah, I got a pallet and a half of this stuff, right? Anyway, and it's not on me, so don't think you're going to raid my house and get it. But that would be not good if you did, for you. All right. So it is, my stuff is with, of course, like we've been talking about for quite some time, Kirk Elliott. So Kirk Elliott, Precious Metals, KEPM.com. You knuckleheads out there, don't fail yourselves. I've been telling you this for years now. It's getting down to the wire. Get down to the wire now. Okay, let's look at this stuff. Let's look at, let's say, buy enough to put with Kirk Elliott in the warehouse. All right. So I would recommend you get as big of an ounce bar, silver bars, as you see right here, as you can get. All right. Like I said, there's no more 1,000 ounces out there. And if you can get 1,000 ouncer, good for you. All right. But I haven't seen them, like I said, for years. I don't think it's been years, been like, yeah, it might be years. So Kirk Elliott was like 100 ounces, pretty much the same price. So I'm like, okay. So when I buy, I'm buying, and I still buy. So I know it's like, God, you're still buying at this price? Yeah, because it's going to go unbelievably higher. That's why the billionaires are buying it. Hello. All right, so let's look at, like a lot of you guys are like, I'm buying ounces of coins. That's dumb, right? Let's look at silver eagles. Let's see how much they cost. All right, uncirculated silver eagles. You buy them. Let's like see, 2025 1 ounce American silver eagle as low as 42.75. So what's the silver asking price right now? 37. So that's $5.50 over what the silver ask price is right now. Ask. Did I say ask? Ask. Right. So ask price. Yeah, ask price. So 2025 1 ounce American silver. So that's $5.50 over the price. How can you get it cheaper? Because when you go to sell this, you go with the bar, they're going to buy it. I've done it. Or if you're with Kirk Elliott and you got them stacked up in his warehouse in Texas, where it's guarded and insured, you're going to be able to instantly transfer it into cash, which then can be transferred to your bank, or you can transfer it over to gold, which is my intention at some point, because silver pops fast and high, and then gold starts to ramp up after that. So it's done this over time. We talked about it. So, okay, $42.75. Now, Monster Box. So this is another way that you can get the silver cheaper, right? So as you see, some of this stuff is starting to sell out, guys. 2024 Monster Box. Monster Box has 500 1 ounce coins. So I bought a few of these over the years. So let's go, where's the Monster Box 2025? See, it says right there, it says you might like, all right? So as low as 21,375. So remember, for 1 ounce, it was 42.75. So let's see what happens when we buy 500 Monster Box silver. So right here, hopefully you guys can see my little calculator. So it's 21,375. So if you go back here and look at this price, so you're basically getting it for like $1,000 less than you would. All right. So let's go back to the Monster Box. The Monster Box is, so that's how much it is if you got every coin for $42.75 is $21.35. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Anyway, for every 500 ounce. So if you go for $1,000, you're going to save over $2,000. So let's look at the bars. Let's look at the, and I'll have to do this again. Obviously, I'm like backwards on this. So let's go with the 100 ounce silver bar. Cheapest one you can get is 4,000, right? So you're getting like a Monster Box for free, 500 ounces, because you're going to go with the ounces of bars. So let's do this. What's 5 times that? That's 20,000. All right. So that's where it was. So 500 ounces was 21, whatever it was. And here it's going to be 20. So you're saving 1,000. So you're going to get, if you do 1,000 ounce bar or 10 100s, like I normally do, then you're going to save yourself a couple $1,000s. And that's like getting a monster box for free. Hello. So from now on, you should slap yourself in the face if you don't go with bars, guys. Go with the most ounces that you can get. All right. So you're going to save a lot of money. And then when silver goes big, which it's going to, you can buy a lot more gold. Right. If you buy gold now, silver is going to go up much more per ounce than gold will. And if you bought the silver like this billionaire did, then he's going to take those profits and put it into gold, and gold's going to go to another level again. Now, if you're with Dr. Kirk Elliott, if you've been buying cost averaging every month, like most of us have, into Dr. Kirk Elliott's, then you're going to be able to do that instantaneously, like I saw. Now, if you've bought this on your own, because a lot of people say if you don't have it in your possession, then you don't own it. It's in my possession in a highly secure compound, right? It's in my possession. If you had that much silver, where would you put it? In your home, in the garage, all right? And every time the garage door goes open or whatever, people look in, it's like, dang, he's got pallets of silver in there. I'm gonna rob his ass, right? He's a dumb fuck, right? So whatever. Now, if you're getting lower amounts, that's all you can afford. I hope and pray that you've been getting at least what you could afford, you guys. 5 ounces, 10 ounces a month, whatever it is, and hopefully you've been able to hold on to it, because I know the economy is tough. So, yeah. So, I don't know what you're talking about, Kelly and John, about both in your rear. What are you talking about? All right. So if my moderators aren't, kicking you out, then I guess it's okay. You're just joking. All right. So that's what we're seeing. Converting to ounces. You want the biggest bar you can get. You don't want the coins. And you get the coins. So who knows? Maybe things. I have coins. Things go to absolute shit. You can, use your coins to buy gas or whatever. Because during before the Nazis came in, because this is the way they do things, guys. They destroy economies, and then everybody's like, that's what the New World Order wants to do. They want to destroy the world's economy. Now we need for it to be destroyed so we can build another one, but they're going to destroy it, thinking in their minds that we're going to be like the Nazis, like the Germans. Before the Nazis took over, we have a better way. You guys have been, wheelbarrow to get a loaf of bread, unless you had silver. Because I heard from one guy who was in that time frame, silver. Their family had silver, so they would go for stuff in the front for people that had the German marks, which were pretty much worthless. That was shit. And then in the back room, the people with the silver. A little bit of silver coin. Pretty good today. Let's see. Went down 542. The NASDAQ down 454. It was down more than that. It was down over 600 at one time. So it bounced back a little bit. So some people want to take a little risk going into the weekend, but looks like most people didn't. So here was the last sell-off. All right. This was the last sell-off. And that's when silver went down. All right. So I'm going to bring up this. Here's the Dow Jones. You see the Dow Jones went down, silver went down, and it was, everybody was like, that's bullshit. It's oversold. So we're going to buy it. And so that's what started happening. So the stock market went up, and look at that gap right there. That gap's got to get filled. So we may see Monday or Tuesday that gap get filled, and then it'll collapse. Right? I don't know. Otherwise, usually gaps get filled. So we got gaps in the NASDAQ. We got gaps in the S&P. You see this gap right here, all the way down here. It's got to get filled. So this might be where we're going to go. Looks like there's a base right here. So eventually it's going to go down there and test that area. So it's got to fill that gap down to 42. Right now it's at 45. So we're looking at, almost 3,000. Point loss in Dow Jones, I think. I don't know. There's tremendous manipulation I'm pretty much staying away from the market. I get burned quite a bit by this market. The manipulation is way over the top. So I'm just standing back and watching. I just have in silver. I'm out of crypto, been out of crypto, made my profit, got out while the getting was good. Hopefully you guys listen to me and got your profits in crypto, but remains to be seen. So we saw, all right, so here's the Dow Jones. You see it telegraphing it's going to fall. So the red basically is over the last several days, the Dow Jones has been going down. NASDAQ has been going up. And now the NASDAQ is going to pay. So look at the silver. Silver was going down. And then silver bounced today. While everything else is selling off bigly, silver bounced. Now, look what gold did. Gold went up like way, way high. All right. Let's go back over here. Let's see. There's gold. Gold was up 72.81. So 2.2%. Silver was up much more, than it pulled back at the end. So still manipulation going on with silver. We'll see silver skyrocket. We saw silver go down, not as much as last time. So look at that big drop last time with silver. This time it was measured and it hit, see where all that congestion is? So it went down and tested that. That's a floor. So it tested the floor and now is probably going to go to new highs, right? It's going to break 40, 41 pretty quick, I believe. Now, I hope that it was going to break 41 and then test that low, but it would have made it a lot easier when it started going up again to go to 45 and then 50. But silver's like that, very slow, methodical, and measured. It's one of the reasons why we like it. XRP got trashed. It was down at like 290, something like that. 350, all the XRPers were like, I told you, Mike. And okay, I told you better take your profit. I took mine last time. I didn't wait around. So we're probably going to see this thing push some new lows during the weekend, or maybe not. We don't know. You never know. A lot of manipulation. People don't realize they're about to be taken advantage of in crypto, I believe, right? All right. So those of you that haven't taken some of your portfolio and invested it into silver, like I've been recommending, percentage of it, you're probably going to lose a lot of money, and then you're like going to be underwater, and you're not going to want to like take it out and put it in silver, and then you're going to be like telling your grandchildren that you effed up bad. You didn't listen to Mike, right? So it is what it is. Let's look at another key thing. Now, we've had some people that have come on that have said that Trump was basically infiltrating Epstein and gathering information. So just like those sex slaves that we were talking about, unfortunately, they're good people. Once they break free from that system, when they're in that system, they're still good people, but they're brainwashed. And then finally they break free. I've met Kathy O'Brien. She's a magnificent woman. She's got a heart of gold. And it's hard to imagine that at one time she was, manipulated the way she was, right? So they were used like many of us are being used. Of course, we're not, sexually abused, fortunately, but they're definitely using us in multiple ways. Now, Donald Trump, I believe, infiltrated their organization. He was one of the good guys. This was planned, time traveler. Yeah, it's like way outside a lot of people's comprehension, but there's a lot of things that, will be revealed in their own time for some of you. Some of you will never get it and don't want to know. That's fine. Some of us know, right? And we try to leak enough information to you guys so you can make informed and logical decisions going forward. So Jeffrey Epstein was basically, and this was obvious to me a long time ago that Trump did this. Jeffrey Epstein believed Donald Trump was the rat that snitched on him and first tipped off law enforcement to his criminal pedophilic activities, right? So Alex Jones talks about this. And so, you know, a lot of us have talked about this for a while. I mean, for years, about Epstein, before it all came to a head, right? So, because I've been revealing about the pedophilia stuff for, you know, 5-6 years now. And it's, because people have to hear it over, you know how it is. People have to hear it over and over and, oh, wow, that's Trump infiltrated Jeffrey Epstein and got all the information. That's how he knows so much and why he does the things that he does, and why they're attacking him, trying to like blame him for being part of, you know, Epstein. Oh, it makes sense now. Years. And then one day you're like, I heard it from the hairdresser. However you remember it, however it happens, you've been saying, now's the time to get in. Right? And that was not right. And some of these people, like the remote viewers, saw crypto going up. They've been reporting on it for a long time. I follow these guys, Dick Algier, fantastic group, great remote viewing team. Look what Dick Algier has to say about crypto.
Customer, they don't require this type of information, but in special cases, transactions like this might be flagged. So here's a case where you can't just simply go exchange one crypto for another without accounting for where that came from and when you got it. We've said for a number of years at futureforecastinggroup.com that eventually all crypto wallets will be whitelisted. There will come a time when there will be, and this is going to be controlled by the on-ramps and the off-ramps. So if you want to change, use your cryptocurrency to buy property or to exchange to fiat money or do any number of things with it, you're going to have to go through an exchange or a broker or some other entity that controls the on-ramps and off-ramps. And they're going to, at some point, require you to account for your Bitcoin and all your other cryptos. When did you get it? What did you pay for it? How did you get it? Where has it been held? I know you don't want to hear that. Let's hear your comments and hear.
All right. So a lot of you guys, crypto aficionados, you needed to hear that. All right. So here's the comments, like he asked people to do. Asking the government for crypto regulation is like inviting a vampire into your home. It's my money. Time to go to gold and silver and hard assets. Guys saying Bitcoin is freedom will get a reality check soon. You always sound so happy about the dystopia we are slipping into. I started buying BTC back in 2017, $50 here, $100 there, and continue doing so over the years, documenting my crypto history. It's all a blur. So if they asked you, I mean, I wouldn't, when did you buy that Doge? Oh my God. It's like, I don't know. Like, and what exchange did you use? It's like, I don't remember. It's like I transferred over to here and I transferred it there. And so they wanted this person, they were going to use one Bitcoin to buy XRP in this one exchange. And this exchange was like, where did you get the Bitcoin? When did you purchase it? And all these questions. Does that sound dystopian to you? Uh-huh. So fall. Local currency, small government, Smithsonian, blah, blah, blah. Where we're going with this. Now, I've reported about it. And like I said, if I said to get into crypto, it was to make a quick profit. And that's what I've been doing for years, making nice and putting it somewhere else to go to. Said, I hope you don't go fear porn or whatever, saying, Mike, you told me to, and I missed out on tuition. I'm not a financial planner. I do my own shit. In fact, I'm not going to tell people when I buy this stuff anymore, right? So I'm telling you, I'm buying silver. if I make a trade on put, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. All right. Because some of you guys get in and just like get wiped and you blame me. So use your own intuition, right? I have courses about intuition. All right. So let's go a little deeper. Let's go a little deeper on another subject. And so this is really good. And we all need to hear this. And this, we need to see this. We talk about this. The CIA needs to go away to a great extent. Of course, probably not completely, but to a great extent, it needs to go. And if it doesn't, then I don't know. Somebody's like got too much control. Right. So let's listen.
Just not about perjury. These guys perjuring themselves. This cuts to the core of the deep state and how they essentially tried a coup d'etat against President Trump. Sir,
that the whole Mueller investigation, it was such a weaponization of the security apparatus, because the story they were trying to create, it was that I was there in the Seychelles creating a back channel to the Russians somehow to affect the 2016 election. But they ignored the fact that that meeting happened in January when Trump had already been elected. And the fact that they leaked 4 months later all the intercepts, the illegal weaponization of the intelligence apparatus, it's really disgusting, and there needs to be accountability, because that's how a Stasi gets built, and that's the kind of stuff that kicks off a revolution, because eventually people are not going to take that kind of abuse. So yes, there has to be accountability. I am good on Tulsi for sticking her head above the parapet and saying this is wrong, and we're going to show that it's wrong. My concern about the DCI, about Ratcliffe, is where is the wholesale firing of the tens of thousands of extraneous nonsense employees at the CIA? That is the fastest organization that can be reformed in Washington, because civil service rules don't apply.
All right. So that was, if you didn't know, Eric Prince. So Eric Prince, former Navy SEAL, I believe he's an Academy grad. I'm pretty sure he's an Academy grad. Academy grad SEAL officers were fantastic. I worked with them. When I was a BUDS instructor in charge of the phase, I would see the Academy officers come through, and they're always fantastic. And then eventually, I always wanted to go and see what it was. And then I went to the Academy, and I saw that they learned how to work together on an unbelievable level, kind of like Navy SEALs. So that's why they would show up, and they would do a really good job. And, they have the Anacostia River, and in the winter, they did their own little mini Hell Week. And I helped with that. And I was like, dang, no wonder these guys crushed through training. So I got a lot of respect for Eric Prince. And, he went on to start Blackwater. I worked with him in Blackwater. Fantastic guy. Now, when I worked for the CIA, it was because of Eric Prince in the early stages of Blackwater, with a lot of former SEAL Team 6 guys like myself. I wasn't part of that early stage, but they went into Afghanistan and they stood up, and it was because of them they were able to make a foothold in Afghanistan, and it just grew from there. And then Blackwater became, very, very, very great. It had its downfall, unfortunately. There's other reasons for that. Maybe someday I'll get Eric on to talk about it. He'd be a great guy to interview. I'd love to interview him. But total respect for him. So I agree that, and I've been saying it for years, you guys know that the CIA needs to go away. Well, the bad CIA needs to go away. There's a good side of the CIA. I was part of it. Eric was part of it. And there's a lot of good people in the CIA. There's a lot of people that, not necessarily all of them are bad. They're just not needed, right? They're just taking up space and they don't need to be there, right? So there's so many CIA, 60% of the CIA could go away. So he's calling out Ratcliffe, the head of CIA. And I agree with him, right? Now, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino should be like slashing the hell out of FBI as well, right? If we're not going to see that, then we got problems. That means the deep state has more power than the white hat group that Trump has brought in, right? And we're going to have to do that. And if we do it, it's not going to be pretty, right? I know those guys know how to run and hide. Most of them will run and hide, and that'll suck because we're going to have to hunt them down if they're bad, right? So if Ratcliffe can, make a bunch of that stuff go away, that would be ideal. We're not in a Cold War anymore with Russia. That's all bullshit. When I was working in the CIA, they still had people talking, these are the techniques we learned about, Russian techniques. And I was like, you guys are morons. That will not work. And that will get everybody killed in the Middle East terrorist areas. And some of them did, right? So a lot of that stuff needs to go away. It's a waste of manpower, woman power, and money, right? Massive amounts of money. Of course, the CIA runs off of illegal black money like crazy. So that would stop a lot of that black money that comes in, child trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. We know the CIA is all involved in all that stuff, guys. Don't you guys know that? You didn't know that? Yeah. Do a little research. Right? So the Nazis did that in Germany. All the stuff that the CIA does, Operation Paperclip, they brought them over and they started the CIA with those guys, right? The Gestapo and all those guys. So now let's look at Tulsi. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. So she's over all of the intelligence agencies, right? And she can make things happen. And she's disclosing. Now, I saw one person just recently saying, instead of arresting all these people, we could destroy their credibility and all that kind of stuff. No, that all gets destroyed when they get arrested and hung or put in prison for the rest of their lives. Never be able to get out again. And so again, deep state puppets out there. It's a former, I think, senator or congressman from South Carolina, Trey Gowdy. I used to like that guy, but I don't anymore. Right. So Trey Gowdy was saying, yeah, if we don't arrest them, that's okay. We're basically disclosing about them. It's destroying them. No. Did you and Ted Cruz get together and talk about that? Sad, because I'm from South Carolina. And of course, I want everybody that comes from South Carolina to be up and up, but that ain't happening, right? We already know that. There's some shit bags coming out of South Carolina. It sucks. So, again, don't get sidetracked by some of these people. Lindsey Graham, Trey Gowdy, bullshit on all those people that talk and don't do anything. If they're going to talk and they don't do anything, get out, shut the F up and get out. I would love to be like SEAL like with these people. All right. So in different countries, right? So like Poland. So Poland had a real baddie. I talked about it. I said that that baddie needs to go away. And sure enough, he did. So this is postcard from Warsaw. Next stop on my European tour, Warsaw, a city that feels like a breath of fresh air in Europe. Clean, safe, beautiful people, and untouched by the urban decay and social tensions plaguing cities like Paris or London, or San Francisco, Chicago, New York. Dare I say that Poland's refusal to bend on migration has kept its capital orderly and confident. Here follow a few admittedly shallow macro tourist observations about Poland and the policy. I am bullish. So here you see Polish stocks have more than doubled since late 2022. The zloty, their currency, has strengthened versus the dollar. We will not accept a single migrant. The phrase, "we will not accept a single migrant," was voiced by Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk in early 2024. So this guy's a stud, right? He's not effing around. I mean, look at that guy. He's not messing around. So he's got that seal look going on. Good for him. Signaling a strict no tolerance policy toward illegal migration and European Union relocation mechanisms. Here are some interesting facts. Since 2022, Poland has built a 5.5 meter high steel wall, sounding like what we're doing in the border with Trump, yes, with sensors and cameras along its border with Belarus, built to stem illegal crossings tied to hybrid migration tactics reportedly orchestrated by Belarus and Russia. In 2025, Poland's parliament approved legislation temporarily suspending asylum rights for irregular arrivals, excluding vulnerable groups, to counter perceived exploitation of migration by hostile state. In October 2023, Poland held a referendum asking whether to accept European Union mandated relocation of migrants. 98.6% of respondents rejected it. The people of Poland have spoken, and they have a government that listens, not like America. All right. The current status on Muslim non-integration groups, Muslims don't integrate, and non-European migrants, only a few hundred annually apply for asylum. Poland maintains a virtually closed door policy for such groups. Poland has bought the heck out of gold. Look at those gold cells. All right. They're not in the business of buying silver and then, turn it over. They just go right straight to gold. Right. Some people do that. That's fine. But if you really want to make a profit, if you want to make generational money, silver to gold. Poles know that one needs to work hard. Remember when we used to have migrants come to America, and they went through a hard process of being admitted through New York, back when New York was still good, right? So now they just come in and we just pay them. They don't work hard. They just get paid. And they're like, tell other buddies, yeah, just come to America. They're going to give you money, free healthcare. They don't get it, but we get it. They even put us up in luxury hotels in New York. All right. So the reason why Poland is the growth champion and Germany, the sick man of Europe, in one chart. So you see that's Poland and that's Germany. They're getting hammered. Poles know that one needs to work hard. Remember when it used to be like that in America? And become more productive for a good life. Germans prefer to follow left redistribution narratives, communism, and don't value hard work anymore. Just do whatever you want. That's a leftist motto, right? Standard of living in Poland. All right. Look at that red dotted line. Boy, that just took off and got all the way up to where everybody else is. They have the same level of standard of living of Spain, Japan, Italy, and the UK. So it is a true free market economic wonder. Poles have higher life satisfaction. All right, so Polish society has kept its values, social cohesion, and avoiding the rampant crime plaguing other countries like the United States. Money is indeed not everything. All right, so Poland, high income countries, they give away the money. Poland, ranking higher than them now. All right, so there's a lot more in here. That's good. I think you guys get the idea. Stop migrants. Stop migrants. All right. So let's look at Tulsi Gabbard. We'll end with this.
As intelligence professionals, as people who work in the national security space, in the intelligence community, they are required to fulfill their mandate to their oath to the Constitution of the United States and to the President of the United States, who is duly elected by the American people. Those who leak intelligence to their friends in the mainstream media with the intent of undermining the president who was elected by the...
So that is deep state intel operatives that are leaking information that they want to be put out to the general public through the mainstream media.
People. None of these intelligence professionals were. They are subverting the will of the people and therefore undermining the Constitution.
It's wild that you're still having to deal with that. Call it what you will. But Operation Mockingbird, just incredible that they were just out with it, that they were using the media as government organs to push propaganda, and it's still happening today.
This is why what we're doing is so important, Benny, and this is why President Trump's mandate in this is really critical, is by exposing the truth, by exposing the bad actors within the intelligence community and in the political space who are weaponizing intelligence to advance their own political interests is so important. To be able to turn the light on in places that have been dark for far too long, expose the truth, and drive accountability. That's the only way that we can actually shift this and begin the work to try to restore trust in the intelligence community.
All right, so well said. If you don't know, there's people manipulating and compromising America. If you don't know, maybe you have a feel, but now you're starting to see the bigger picture. There's enough of us sharing this information. Now you can make informed decisions. You can help. And it may come to the point, like I said, we may form civic groups, judicial groups, and civic militia groups to basically enforce what we, the people, want, because the government will no longer do it or cannot because it's so compromised. So we have, that's what we're faced with. And this has happened throughout history. Like I said, the government is so compromised. We've let it, we, the people, have let it get so compromised. And a lot of it is from, like she said, the intel community that has been manipulating the Mockingbird media and, screwing up our consciousness, MK ultraing us, the school system, the Jesuit school system, basically programming us. It's hard to break free from it. It's hard to understand and break free from it. But if you do, you are a force to be reckoned with. So that is our intention, to break free from the system, to cease its existence completely, and to the point where it can never come back. This is a monumental task. What will we tell? What will our grandkids? What will they look back on and say, God, they were so great. They were the amazing generation. Or will they look back and go, those guys sucked? we're all slaves now because of them. I know in my mind and what I'm doing, I know how they're going to look at me. How about you? All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and we'll see you guys next time.